Blockchain. It's just a 10 minutes presentation, 10 to 15 minutes. I hope you pay attention because this is, I already collect millions of dollars for my ICOs, and now I travel the world by explaining how you could collect money and funds with the growth hacking and then blockchain. First of all, let's get slow, otherwise the translator can't translate, isn't it? Anyway, let's start with some buzzwords. ICO, which is initial coin offering, and it is a sort of startup based on tokens. So you give them Ethereum and they will give back tokens and you will take part of the investments. And STO, which is a security token offering, and this is like an IPO, but with security tokens. And as we told yesterday, we can tokenize almost everything of physics: a patent, a building, a real estate, everything. So these are the two words, the two buzzwords I need to explain before getting to this word. Let's see some graphs. I mean, yesterday people were talking about that ICOs are dead, that SCOs will be not the next big things. What I can see is that in US they have collected so far $7.5 billion. $7.5 billion. And if you think that Germany is a small country with 10 million people, I can tell you that in the Cayman Island they raised 1 billion, and on the British Virgin Island they raised 2.3 billion dollars in the British Virgin Island. So the market is not dead, it's just getting a slowdown as it can for the .com business. Amazon were almost dead in 1998, and now Amazon, it's Amazon. So this is really unbelievable. And if someone, like yesterday, told me that the market actually nowadays is dead, I can tell you some data from ICO Bench, which I am part of. In February 2019, so the last month, we see 4,800 ICOs that ended, and 1,500 ICOs has raised funds. So they're not dead. They're just slowing down. These are modifying the business model. And we are having in February 300 of ongoing ICOs. But what about the funds? What about the startups? What about the numbers? What about the money? It's all about money. I mean, Bolton coin, which is the first coin that took the lead as the biggest coin, which rose more, raised $67 million in 1 month. So how many IPOs rose in 1 month in February? $67 million. I don't know, a few. And ICO is a normal to rise such amount of money. I mean, also the last one. I mean, the fifth in the chart is a Lucre, and the name is it's on time. It's $11 million in just 1 month. But how these ICOs could raise such amount of money? They're not rising from banks, they're not rising from venture capitalists, they're not rising from angel investors, because those are the startups, and these are the ICOs. These monies are raised by bunch of people that invest only $1. So yesterday someone told me that what's the difference between crowdfunding and ICOs. I would say that right now, if I pick up my phone, I can invest in ICOs. And if I pick up my phone, I also $1. But if I pick up my phone, I cannot invest $1 in crowdfunding because there's a threshold. I have to sign with the KYC, and it takes about 20 minutes. So that's why ICOs is faster. And why ICO and not a startup? Because ICOs are simpler, faster, and more profitable. It's 15% profitable and faster and simpler than a startup. And believe me, I did a startup, I exit with the startups, and ICO is really, really better because you get rid of all the things that keep stuck the business, in Italy in particular. Let's see, also the last time I showed you a chart, I promise you. Let's see that in April 2018, so the last year, ICO's market raised $1.1 billion. And even if we're in a bull market, the last month in January, so February is not updated yet because we are still getting some information, but January, which was the worst month ever for ICOs, we raised $372 million. An average rise for each ICO was $10 million for each ICO. Now, I don't know if you are into the startup world, but no, I didn't know any startup that raised 10 million, even maybe 1 million, it's a success, but no one has raised such amount of money in Italy. I would say that I personally, for my ICOs that I advised, I raised more than all the venture capitalists in Italy in 10 years. So, how do I get funds for my ICOs or STOs? This is a sort of a path. I would have need about 10 hours to explain it really well, but I will just show you the passages. First of all, you have to file a white paper, which is the former business plan. Secondly, you have to select the country. I hope Jordan will welcome new ICOs and STOs, but country without the bank that will allow you to change Ethereum into fiat currency is nothing. So you have to work country together with the bank. And smart contract, which is really a proper contract. And with the smart contract, you sign a contract with the ICO. I give you money, you give me token. If the token rise, my contract will rise. And with the smart contract, we can open infinite doors by telling you how will be modified the world of advocacy, of notary, of real estate, but there's another chapter. And you have to do marketing, because as I told you yesterday, as we showed you yesterday, is more important the impact than the content. And in Italy, Salvini, and or in America, Trump, show you that it's more important the impact on things than the content. So marketing is the most important things in ICOs. The last things I would like to tell you about marketing and growth hacking is that it's all about social proof. I mean, if people invest money into an ICO, people will see that and will jump on board and invest more money. So it's like a social proof. If people go in a restaurant and there's a crowd of people outside the restaurant, people will book a table in that restaurant. And it works as the same for the ICOs, because we're talking about crowd of people investing money. Not talking about few venture capitalists, few banks, or a couple of angel investors. Second, you have to reach the soft cap, which is the target, the lower target of your money rising. For example, you can set up soft cap for $2 million, and only if you will reach the soft cap, then you will get tokens. Otherwise, you will get your money back. You have to list your token into an exchange, and there's a lot of exchanges full of money. The most famous one is Binance, which trade about $3 billion per day. $3 billion per day. It's like a small stock exchange in Europe. And you have to deliver the products because you get money from users. Now you have to deliver the product. And keep the price of your token, maintain the price, because if you don't pay attention to the market, your token will drop down. There's a lot of tokens, especially in Italy, that rise about $30 million in one day, $30 million in one day, and the day after, they lost everything. And the marketing is not about Facebook, Google ads, Instagram ads. The marketing is done through these platforms, which are LinkedIn, Reddit, Bitcoin Talk, which is a forum with a graphic design of about 20 years ago. It's probably made me be liked by my brother. So let me say hello to my brother that came from Italy to here. Ciao Manu. And ciao Bruno. Okay, just a quick family parenthesis. Anyway, so the tools are Medium, Twitter, Telegram, which is really important. Just a quick detour about Telegram, that in one day raised $1.4 billion, and the bank stopped him. And the airdrop, because airdrop is like dropping money out of a plane, because airdrop is really important, because with the tokens you can even send $0.01 to anyone without no fees. Barely no fees. So you can notify everyone that you've launched your own currency. And ICO Bench, which is like the Standard & Poor's of ICOs, more or less. So let's have a closer look to just a few of these social networks. The one I do prefer is LinkedIn, where I have about 500,000 followers in different accounts. With the software I have designed with Black Marketing Guru, we can collect thousands of highly targeted followers every week, every month, and so far I've collected about 1.7 million emailing database of ICOs and STO investors. With my software, and you can have it, just bump me, you can collect also 50 leads per day. You can have 100,000 of weekly reach. And you can reach the first page on Google by publishing contents people like. The more content, the more you get likes on LinkedIn by using LinkedIn Pulse, the more you rise on Google. And if you write Steve Wozniak, that has just founded his crypto investment funds, I am on the fourth place with just a LinkedIn post. Another one is Twitter. Now it's more techy, more IT, more nerdy thing that my brother will appreciate. So I designed the same software so I can collect thousands of followers. I just opened my Twitter account 4 to 5 months ago because I don't like Twitter and use it. But you can, as you can see, you can collect one follower every minute. But the takeaway for you from this slide is the URL stealing. So I don't know how many techie guys are in here, but I would say that if you go to twitter.com/John McAfee, you will see that the account of the CEO of McAfee Antivirus has not been taken. So John McAfee changed his account. But this account has got a lot of backlinks on Google. And if you will set up a notice when the URL will be available again, you will grab the username and you will get immediately about 100 backlink of the on the biggest journal and world newspaper. And you can do this with in any business. So this is a great takeaway. This is Telegram. This is Telegram. You know the difference between WhatsApp and Telegram? It's that the main feature is that Telegram is really encrypted. WhatsApp isn't. Telegram is encrypted because it's not based on your mobile phone number, but it's based on your user. So people in blockchain do really love using Telegram. And in Telegram, I've designed a special software in order to grab investors from other groups, other ICOs, and inviting in our group. And for example, Fidelity House, which the CEO is the great Francesco Fasanaro, ciao Francesco, I say him hello, and which is the second world biggest group of investors in the history of ICOs, with barely 100,000 of investors. And we raised in just 1 week $3.2 million in Italy. And in Italy, believe me, no one is talking about ICOs, and no one takes up with me because I'm not famous in Italy, as I am famous in India, Russia, or Asia. So Telegram is really important for your business, and also if you want to be updated on the crypto world, is really useful. So 1 week, $3.2 million. And these are the lists of where you can see the ranking of all the ICOs. The first one is ICO Bench. It's my preferred one. There's a list of the top crypto advisor, which I'm in the top 10. But I already told you yesterday how we're getting. Then Crypto Compare, ICO Holder. There's a lot of these websites. And if you want to publish your startup, your blockchain startup on one of those websites, you're gonna pay about $5,000 to $6,000. It's crazy, I know, but these websites really makes the difference. So. Jordan may attract $1.2 billion of investment if they will regulate the ICOs and STOs as you did, and find a bank that will comply with the regulation and by changing tokens in Ethereum BTC into fiat currency. So believe me, you're going to attract a lot of money if you take care. And Malta has attracted $3 billion. So Jordan is better than Malta, and you can really collect those amounts of money. You just need to have the right advisors that will bring in here ICOs. So I can name myself as a Jordan crypto ambassadors, obviously for free, because I love this country. Thank you so much. See you next.
Great. Well, thank you, Giacomo, and I'll get back to you. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Since you mentioned Jordan specifically, I wanted to ask you, after I get to Badreddine, about what type of industries do you think would be best to be regulated or to have the ICO thereof regulated. So I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Badreddine, I wanted to ask you, I know you've been also very kind of active in the cryptocurrency and blockchain in general. Can you kind of shed some light on the paradigm shift that is taking place in the global economy because of blockchain and cryptocurrency in particular?
Hello, is it working? Yeah, thank you. So as we discussed yesterday in the presentation of me and my colleague Marloes, blockchain is definitely a paradigm shift in the way trust is established on the internet. So today, whenever things of value are shared on the internet, money, event tickets, your digital identity, academic certificates, etc., intermediaries are required. Resolving the trust issue on the internet, because you never know who you're dealing with. And with blockchain technology, we can finally, for the first time in history, send value from A to B without a person in between. And this is a fundamental shift. And whenever there's such kind of shift occurring or taking place, it is new, because our current way of thinking and our current way of operating is totally different than from the new thing that is about to emerge on the internet in this case, so with blockchain technology. And in the panel, in the second panel today, there was one of the speakers who referred to his child using Amazon Pay, and while us as elders not using it anymore, and in the future it will be all about digital. So this is already a paradigm shift. I expect babies that are born today probably will not see any cash in the when they are adults. So 15 to 20 years from now, there might be a huge possibility that cash will get reduced, and in some countries even will disappear at all. And as I just discussed at this table with some guy, with some lady and a guy, in the 90s when the internet was founded, let's say in the internet when the commercial version of the internet was established, there were open systems and there were closed systems, and all the people and all the persons at that time, they say no, the closed ones are the ones that will matter, and the open one, they will disappear, because you never would like to be on the internet meeting strangers, talking to people you don't know. And 15 to 20 years later, we are using Uber, basically stepping in a car of someone we have never met, but based on some reviews. We are renting homes through Airbnb, and we're letting strangers in our homes. And we are chatting with people from all over the world. So the paradigm shift that was occurring at that time was new, it was unnatural, and it took some time to adopt and embrace this new way of thinking and operating. And the same happened, so basically with Wikipedia and the Encyclopedia platform by Microsoft, Encyclopedia Britannica, if I pronounce it correctly. So it was a closed one and an open one. And again, the closed one, it was filtered by top experts, by all the amazing people all over the world, and it was winning at the beginning. But the thing is, with open networks and open systems, you have permissionless innovation, as they call it beautifully. And when you have permissionless innovation, people from all over the world can contribute, can share, can participate. And there are more smart people over the world than in a specific area, or in a specific, for example, there are more people outside this conference which are much smarter than we are, but which will be excluded from sharing their information with us. And making the transition to blockchain and cryptocurrencies, because there is a big question mark around this technology, I think every individual, every stakeholder, every ecosystem member should pay extra attention, because we are not sure which way it will be heading. It might it might backfire at the end if you exclude it from day one. So from an innovation perspective, I think it's crucial to never ever exclude or rule anything out. And one of the talks I did at one of a European, a leading bank, I will not be mentioning the name, but it was around anonymous cryptocurrencies. So you have Zcash, you have Monero, and there are all these stories about money laundering and KYC and AML, etc. And those should be in place for sure. Current procedures should be followed. Let's be okay with that. But one of these cryptocurrencies called Zcash, they have a very, very fundamental technology, an application of cryptography called ZSNARKs, Zero Knowledge Proofs, which Marloes was explaining yesterday. So when Zcash was launched in 2015 or 2016, all major financial institutions all over the world, all the governments, they were like, oh, we don't need this. It is dangerous, we should ban it. The technology powering this cryptocurrency called the zero knowledge proofs is actually what makes it possible for two people to interact anonymously when doing a transaction. And one of the biggest issues today when it comes to blockchain consortiums is how do we shield our transactions consisting of private information from our competitors while being able to collaborate with them in an ecosystem. This is a huge, huge, huge deal to be solved. And it turns out to be that this zero knowledge proofs, the technique that was criticized 4 or 5 years ago, could be a potential solution to solve this problem. So the key lesson and the key takeaway here is never exclude anything. It would be way too naive because it could backfire on you. 5 years later, it turns out there is potentially some solution to be used, and we saw several use cases and POCs from the Netherlands actually using these zero knowledge proofs for the privacy of the customer in a totally different setting. And because the lines are blurring between all the traditional players, the fintechs, the startups, etc., things that might not work in one sector, in one industry, might be valuable to another, or for a certain business model, or for a certain organization. So the paradigm shift that is taking place, and this is my honest advice from the heart to all of you, if you would like to innovate, never ever exclude anything, never. Yeah. Because the moment you do that, you will be missing stuff. So if today Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, it is happening. So the moment you exclude them, you are being excluded from what's happening in the ecosystem. So I don't want to say, hey, go full on them, participate, etc. But at least keep watching, keep an eye of what's happening. You might learn actually something new, which might be useful for internal purposes. Right. And I think this paradigm shift and having an open mindset, as Marloes and I yesterday discussed, is the most important capability that needs to be developed.
Okay. That's a good point. So basically, kind of approach it with an open mind. And for me, one of my fascination with cryptocurrencies is that it really comes as part of our story as humanity, with the idea of money and what we kind of deem something valuable enough and suitable enough to exchange value between us since humanity started. So it's hard to kind of imagine that only just a little bit over 100 years ago, in the U.S., for example, we had over 4,000 institutions that issued their own currency in the early 1900s, up to the establishment of the Federal Reserve. So in the 1800s, we had literally over 8,000 banknotes in the U.S. So when Giacomo speaks about like different ICOs and we have all these gazillion cryptocurrencies out there, it's really not any different than the U.S. 120 years ago. Up until also the early 1900s, we had only two central banks in Sweden and the Bank of England that had a centralized control of money. So, and in a lot of different places around the world, let's say if we take Zimbabwe, for example, there is a central bank and there is a central bank issued banknote. However, if you leave it up to the people, they would rather not deal with it, and they come up with different instruments. And this is, even if we look at recently, we have up until the early 1900s also, we used cowrie shells, right? I mean, this is documented. It has been used before Christ and all the way up to the early 1900s in the Yap Island, right, in Micronesia, up until the late 1800s, they used stones, right? These big stones, and as money and as a store of value. In Cameroon, up until also just a few years ago, they used the cover of fizzy drinks as money. Believe it or not, I'm not talking about 500 years ago. I'm talking about just a few years ago. Same thing in Somalia, they use their own kind of issued money. So there is a lot of areas around the world where, it brings us to the fundamental meaning of what money is, right? Yeah. It's fundamentally, you have 5 or 6 different characteristics. If we have consensus on those characteristics, and we give it to anything, a rock, a paper, or whatever it is, then it is money. So it doesn't matter where it's issued from.
Yeah, and let me give you just a basic example. So I'm also the founder and the chairman of the Blockchain Student Network, a non-profit helping students and academics understand and use blockchain technology for research purposes. We operate in the Netherlands. And we created our own donut coin. So we created a donut coin, and everyone with a donut coin could pay us at our events and receive a donut and obtain a donut in exchange. So say, Mohammed, I will send you a donut coin right now, and you go to the organizer of this event, and you tell them, hey, I want to exchange this donut coin for a donut. He will tell you, it's not common for us, we don't value this one. Come to our event, and everyone will give you a donut. So the context is also crucial, as you just said with the thingy. And assuming that most of the people sitting in the room are from financial service providers, a bigger shift happened even in the past when people used to pay with precious metals, and suddenly they had to pay with a piece of paper representing some gold in a fold. And people were like, come on guys, just give me the gold or the precious metal and leave the paper behind. Because that was even a more bigger shift that occurred than what's happening today. Because today everyone is mobile already, and the difference going from a mobile wallet that is run by a cryptocurrency or another application is smaller than when you're going from using a piece of precious metal that is transferred through the use of a paper. So the biggest shift already happened, and the same also happened with credit cards in the last century. There was always resistance against it. And recently with the internet in the 90s, I mean, from those who were involved, for sure, Mohammed, so electronic payments were like, the electronic payments on the internet, are we crazy? This is not safe at all. We cannot deal with it. 2 decades later, 3 decades later, and all is done digitally. The entire economy has become digital. And again, with blockchain technology and with cryptocurrencies in particular, we have created something that is bigger than us. And everyone is trying to describe it in a different way. It is like a blind person explaining what an elephant is. Are you at the front or at the back or at the side? And every person touching the elephant will see different things. We did it with the internet, and we are doing it again with blockchain technology. And the best way and the best advice, in my honest opinion, I could give is have an open mindset while floating and chartering going over these waters, because we are going over uncharted waters. We have never been here, totally agree. And in order to navigate, have an open mindset and don't exclude anything.
Okay, good. Now, Giacomo, I want to give you a hypothetical example. Since we're here in Jordan, a beautiful country, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to come visit. So let's say if Jordan wants to increase and encourage tourism, let's say, right? Yeah. You have the beautiful Dead Sea, the Aqaba, we have so many, Wadi Ram and all that. So let's say, again, hypothetically speaking, Jordan wants to double its revenues from tourism and wants to make it easy for people to come and they don't have to deal with different currencies and all that stuff. How can an ICO for tourism in Jordan help the tourism sector, and how do you go about doing that and marketing and promoting it?
Yeah. Okay, yes. Let's say that more than cryptocurrencies, blockchain may help these the things like, let's say, Estonia, which nobody knows. I mean, it's a small European country. They issued a new visa made in blockchain, so you don't no longer have to take with you documents for visa and Israeli access to fly over there and establish a company. Because with these, I mean, let's say it's like an identity, blockchain identity card. You can even create a bank account and establish a company in Estonia, or Miami in US, where you can access to the customs with just retina scanning. Because they put in blockchain all those kind of information, so you no longer have to get with you the passport. And someone from IT sector may say that, okay, but it's just in databases. Well, database may be modified, blockchain not. That's why blockchain is bigger than us, because it's not up on us to modify data, and it's really because blockchain is really secure, is really it's impossible to be attacked, even in particular cases, but it's not today to discuss about that. But by increasing tourism, there's a lot of ICOs that is working on this chapter and this topic. For example, by creating a sort of booking, but in blockchain based, by creating Airbnb blockchain based. As the things I would like to say is that we have modified everything. You know, the restaurant has been modified permanently by Just Eat. Music has been modified permanently by Apple and then Spotify. Movies by Netflix.
How about if I give you an idea, and maybe you can use this idea to as a practical example. How about if we do a Dead Sea mud token, right? And each token equals, let's say, 1 pound of mud, and then market it globally. Would that work?
Yeah, it could work. Is to tokenize the
tokenize the Dead Sea mud. Yeah, so, right?
yeah, it may work.
Right? Yeah. So then you'll market that for Jordan.
Yeah, for sure.
Good faith and
could be cool.
And shows your capability.
Yeah.
Okay, Dead Sea mud tokenization. That's you heard it here first. Yeah. Badreddine, again, I think you spoke yesterday about the different case uses. Can you tell us maybe something more about how a country like Jordan can practically use either blockchain or something, maybe a crypto token, practically in industry today? Like maybe supply chain. Jordan is a big manufacturer of medicine. So how can the pharma use blockchain to maybe increase sales overseas or increase credibility? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I think an important question to ask is not where to apply blockchain, but what are our current problems, and which technologies might solve that. Because at the end of the day, every business case, every idea, I think you should be able to replace blockchain with any other technology and test it, whether the same problem can be solved by another technology. And if you have tested like 10, 20, 30 technologies and there's no answer, unless for blockchain technology, then go for it. Because for a lot of problems, blockchain is a very bad solution. So I think that is a crucial point to remember whenever doing blockchain. It is a great solution, but it is also important to know when not to use blockchain.
Actually, I have a question for you regarding that. Can you tell us about about the different types of blockchains? Like we have, open, federated, all that stuff. Can you tell us about the different types of blockchain technologies?
Yes. So there are some classifications. So the most important one is the open blockchains versus the closed ones. Every open blockchain has a cryptocurrency, but not every closed blockchain has a crypto. So, for example, Hyperledger, which is a closed blockchain. There is an opportunity to create a cryptocurrency on top of it, but it is often not done. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, Zcash, Litecoin, Neo, those are all open blockchains, and they all have a cryptocurrency. I think this is an important a point that distinguishes those two types of blockchains. As it already says, the open blockchain is open. It's open to anyone. Anyone can join the network, anyone can participate in the network, and anyone can view the network. So what's happening under the hood. An often used analogy is the internet, where anyone can develop a website, anyone can publish a website, and anyone can view a website. This is the open part of the blockchains. And the closed ones are the internal websites or the intranet at organizations, which is only accessible if you have a certain account and password and you can join the network. So it requires permission. This is the biggest difference between the open ones and the closed ones. And every open blockchain has a cryptocurrency. It has its native cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And some of the blockchains, you can even build new cryptocurrencies on top of them. Like what Giacomo was explaining with the ICOs. Those are often built on smart contract enabling blockchains like Ethereum, Neo, and there are some others.
And do you think, are we facing a situation where it's either going to be a VHS versus Betamax, or we're going to have what Ms. Hannah mentioned earlier, interoperability between the different blockchains? Which way do you think we're likely to go?
That's very hard to say because I cannot predict the future. If I could predict the future, I would have already known which cryptocurrency to buy and I would not be sitting here.
I thought you did.
Yeah.
That's why we invited you.
Yeah, but going back to your question, which one? I think both have a room to operate. So some use cases will be around the open ones, and some will better be served by having a closed system. Especially as it for new organizations. So for organizations that are new to blockchain, it can be scary to start with an open blockchain. So you would like to have it as a gradual process. Start with a closed one, experiment, test some waters. Hey, there's also an open one. What can I learn from this? And this might be interesting to a path to follow. So we really have to select the use cases based on their needs.
Good. Okay, I'm going to open the floor for any questions that you might have for our panelists. Any questions, any comments? I think Muhammad in the front.
Yes, thanks a lot for the enlightenment, very interesting discussion. My question to our growth hacker, to Giacomo, was the ICO again, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's okay. See, collecting money is okay. I mean, what you mentioned, you know, like white papers, sequence, it's all fine. And then delivering the product. Now, here I need just to discuss with you this point. Now, like this is for a startup, okay, which does not exist. It does exist only in the white paper, which is the idea with entrepreneurs that they would like to deliver something. And now you're gonna collect this number of millions of whatever, and then you put the product and then put it in the market. Then you start, you know, having a startup, you know, like with you can even evaluate, you can, and so on. I do understand that maybe 70% of the startups fails. This is my like humble opinion. You know, lots of people have very great ideas. They can put great white papers and so on. So how can people select something which does not really fail? Because, you know, even the percentage is high. So I would say even you collect like this $1 billion, but at end, in 2-3 years from now, if the product fails, then this money is gone, right? Yep. So I need to, you know, because this we need to enlighten people as well, because it's great to get money to be rich very soon, but if the product is not there, there is nothing there at all. Thank you.
Okay.
So basically, Giacomo, how do people not fall for, you know, the great marketing tactics of some ICOs out there? How do we kind of, you know, see what's going on under the water?
Okay, let's say that we used to trust a company like Standard & Poor's that barely destroyed the world in 2008. So we used to trust them. but basically it's up to people. So if you want to invest in an ICO that is clearly a scam, it's up to you. There's no... okay, how do you know that it's a scam?
Yeah, because there is, as you are saying, there is great people writing, white papers. There is too many things, as you are saying. Even I attended a marketing conference recently about how you do it. We can do it for you this way. It's a great thing. Yeah. So people like me would like to, or others like to invest. Yeah. And they know.
Okay.
So if you are presented with 10 ICOs, and you're asked by us to pick one or two. Okay. What do you look for in a good ICO, and what is considered a red flag so you can stay away?
I pick up the one who paid more. No, I'm joking. No, but it works like that. I mean, it works really like that because I can dress up any scam ICO and transform it into a big one, to pretend to be a big one. So this is really, really easy to do with the ICOs. But I have analysts that analyze the ICOs. They're working with my investment funds like Virgilius Wealth of Gianluca Guerra. Ciao Gianluca. All the Italians. Okay, and the people analysts that analyze every ICOs, but if in 2018 there was 80% of scammy ICOs, nowadays they're really less. And websites like ICO Bench can predict the scam ICOs from the true ones, and because they are analysts, they are experts, and you cooperate to get rid of all the scammy people that is ruining the crypto world and even the blockchain world, because it's been confusing every time.
I think if I may just add,
can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically, what you are saying, Mohammed, is totally right. How do we distinguish the real ones from the scammy ones?
Yes.
And that's a very hard question to answer. But actually, what we could answer is how have the building blocks of setting up a company, what are the building blocks of setting up a company? So essentially, an ICO or an STO, they are a startup. So they want to develop a product for the future. Usually, when you raise money, you have to show some traction, you have to show a product, you have to show an MVP, you have to show something. With the ICO craze, what we saw, just a white paper was enough, and you could raise millions. And there was even a case whereby someone raised money with one tweet, and it was called a minimum viable tweet instead of a minimum viable product, which is already crazy. But that is what happens when there is a hype, especially in financial services. So that's the first thing. The second thing, when you are building a company, and a lot of successful are there any entrepreneurs in the room? So a lot of the large companies that have been built, in retrospect, when they have interviewed their founders, money has never been decisive. Like, hey, the money was about to make us or break us, especially in technology. More important things are, who is my customer? Is my product working? How about my user experience? How about my product market fit? Those are the building blocks of starting a company, and those apply to a hot dog stand on Manhattan Street or on Wall Street, as well as to technology companies. So a local Moroccan couscous vendor in Morocco, he will decline and reject this business model, these ICOs, because he will say, what's the product? There's no product. There is no clear view of what's happening. And I think that's the period that we have seen over the past 2 years with the ICO hype. And now the tourists are leaving the ecosystem, and hopefully the really meaningful projects will remain.
Just for the record, I'll buy a Moroccan couscous dish ICO any day. They have the best food, man. So I think we just came. If there's any question, any more questions? so we'll just wrap this up, and I would like again to thank you so much for being so kind
Thank you.
and giving us your time. I would like to thank the team, the sound team, and all the unknown soldiers who are making this happen, especially that young lady over there in the corner, the translator. She has been amazing. Thank you so much. And I think next we have one last presentation coming up. I don't have the program, but we have two. Okay, sorry. So yeah. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. It was a nice presentation. Now we're moving on. هلا في عنا سيمينار لميتا كود سوفت وير، بس قبل ما نبدا بدي اخبركم انه في فوركس، بس اذا ممكن برضه بنعلنها على الشاشه. في فوركس تايم سيمينار اليوم رح تبدا على الساعة 4، رح يكون في الريجستريشن، رح تكون بهالقاعة هون على الساعة 4 رح يكون الريجستريشن، على 5 رح بتبدا، وبعد هيك رح تبقى لل8:15 وفي دينر. هلا رح ننتقل للسيمينار الثاني يلي هو ميتا كود سوفتوير سيمينار. Language of this seminar will be in English.